Hello everyone, and welcome to the 6th episode of my Super Woden GP2 lab testing series, where I drive every car in Super Woden GP2 so you don't have to. Today we will focus on the D class, containing every vehicle between 501 and 600 horsepower. For more details about the testing, I invite you to watch the introduction video as well as the results spreadsheet in the comments. Also, as I'm recording this, the Soup Gozer just came out. Unfortunately, the F-Class video was already completed, so it's not in there. But I tested it anyway and it achieved a 43rd place, just ahead of the Flippet F3. But back to the D class, we start with the Soup Auburn, unsurprisingly, which gets a 56.182. This is again a very heavy car, it's not that grippy, and it is powerful, but it has not any usefulness in this class, unfortunately. Next, in 20th place, we have the Soup SX, which gets a 52.524. This is already much faster, but still very bad compared to the rest of the class. There is basically no reason to use this car in any race, unfortunately, because the rest of the class is mostly race cars. But in this class, the best production car is the Alia iPro, which gets a 50 seconds and 570 milliseconds. In this class, it is the fastest production car, but it's still far behind everything else. Okay, now we switch to the rally vehicles with the Cinder Opalium HC with a 49.092. This is pretty nice to drive, but unfortunately it lacks the top speed. It is one of the cars that you can do the hill climb with, and it is pretty decent for it, but it's one of the... It is the worst hill climb car. The second worst being the Milan Légendaire, which gets a 48.9. It's barely quicker. This car is very light, it has less power, but it has a bit more top speed than the Opalium. You get it from, I think, the Hero Cup, if I'm not mistaken, the second to last championship. So this car is actually free, so that's its main strength. Next we have the Terramoto, 2/10 faster than the Légendaire. In 16th place, this car is what you get after completing the hill climb, and it's pretty quick. It has the best top speed out of the two other cars that we saw previously. It's a bit weird to drive though. We're gonna see later another car that is actually even faster than this. But for now, we are going with the Soup Annihilator Group 5, which gets a 48.357, and this is the second worst Group 5 car, just ahead of the Rafton, and this is not a great car. It lacks a grip, mainly, for this kind of car. Next, in 14th place, we have the Soup Auburn race car, which gets a 48.3, again, barely ahead of the Annihilator. The Soup Auburn race car is just as heavy as the Auburn, it's just more grippy and more powerful, but yeah, it's not a very useful car here because there isn't many championships where it's eligible and useful. Next, in 13th place, the Raven Uranus 6 Group 5, which gets a 48.1. This car is very heavy for a Group 5 car, one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest, at least in terms of how it feels to drive. So it's not the easiest car to drive. It has an extra upgrade that puts it in the C class, but it's not eligible for Group 5 if you had that upgrade. Next, in 12th place, we have the Soup Mamba, which gets a 48 flat, barely ahead of the Uranus, with only 24 milliseconds difference. This car has a pretty good straight line speed. It lacks a bit of grip though. As I said in the E class video, you should keep it in the F class because that's where it is at its best. Next, we have the Milan Piero Hell Climber with a 47.6, and this car is an entire second faster than the Terramoto. This is a very good car. It is very expensive though, 140k and 200k in upgrades. This is one of the most expensive cars in the game and the most expensive car in this class. And now for a bit of contrast with the cheapest car in this class to have fully upgraded, the Cinder Stiglitz Group 5 in 10th place with a 47.569 is a pretty good car. It handles very well, quite fun to drive, and it's pretty cheap to upgrade, so really good car overall, really good price quality ratio. Next, in 9th place, we have the Raven Uranus 8 JTC, which gets a 47.291, which puts it in 3rd place of the JTC class. So yeah, the engine upgrade actually changes everything, but it's still not the greatest pick that you could use. Next we have the latest addition to the Group 5 class, the Alia Pardus Group 5, which gets a 46.899. In 8th place, this car is actually the slowest Group 5 car when stock, but fully upgraded it is the quickest. It is pretty expensive to fully upgrade, it's over 160k, so that's the most expensive Group 5 car to get and upgrade, but it is worth it if you want the fastest Group 5 car. Next in 7th place we have again the Sub Fulgor DTC that we have gotten twice already. This is the final time that this car will get 46.638. This is by far the best DTC car. It's over 4 seconds faster than the second fastest. It's unfortunately a pretty late game car, you need to win it from the 500s race car challenge. After that, in 6th place, we have the Alia Coraggioso JTC, which gets a 46.436, and it's barely behind the Alia April. This one is gonna go down to personal preference, I think. This car is actually kinda cheaper than the April to fully upgrade, but I have to tell you, it's a bit stiffer. It's harder to drive, you really need to be good with it. But the Coraggioso is a very good pick. Next in 5th place we have the Nanwolf Crusader GT, which gets a 45.9, and this car is pretty quick, but unfortunately it's not very useful for many things. There aren't a lot of championships where this car could be shooted for, so not the most useful car in this class, I would say. Next in 4th place we have another good surprise, the Sub Salamander with a 45.5. This car is actually surprisingly quick for its horsepower. It's a bit stiff though, so you will have to be a good driver to use it well. Also, it's like the Crusader GT, it's not very useful for many events. Next we hit the top 3 with the Raven Shukufuku Group 5, which gets a 45.325. This car is not the best Group 5. It actually is first here because it has the extra engine upgrade that puts it at 598 horsepower, but then it's not eligible for Group 5 with that upgrade, so with only one engine upgrade it's at 47.3 I think, and it's just behind the Pardus. So what you need to know about this car is that it's very stiff, so you also have to drive very well with it, but it's pretty quick. Next in 2nd place, the Nanwolf Dalton Evo. This is another car that I had to test again very recently because I forgot to apply one upgrade when I did the testing, but this car is actually pretty good. 44 seconds flat. This is way faster than the Shukufuku. This car is pretty good, very well balanced. This is one of the best cars for the D class and definitely a contender for potential world records in this class. But ultimately the best car in this class is the Sub Spartan with a 43.837. This car is slightly faster than the Dalton. I'm sure that the Dalton could get some world records, but if you want to maximize your chances, you have to use the Sub Spartan. It just suffers a bit from lack of top speed, but it's not very important in this class because it's basically the issue with all the other cars. But if you upgrade it to the C class, you will realize that this car is actually a bit slower in terms of top speed than the rest, and that it can pull it back a little bit sometimes. But otherwise, great car. And it's pretty cheap as well, and it doesn't use this many upgrades. It doesn't have any tire upgrades, and it's pretty grippy stock. It's only 112,000 credits. It's a very cheap car for the performance it has, one of the cheapest of the cars for this quote-unquote class, the cars that were made for the Hero Cup, if you see what I mean. But anyway, this was the D class, a bit shorter than usual. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, not a lot of surprises, at least at the top spots. It's never very surprising to see who is up there, but still interesting to see all the leaderboard of all the cars, how they are ranked. It's interesting also to see some clusters of cars at some places. Like some cars are very close sometimes, so it's really very interesting to see. But anyway, if you haven't already, you can check out the introduction video. If you are interested in more details for the results, you have the spreadsheet in the comments because I can't put it in the description again. And yay, thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode for the C class, which is going to be even shorter than this. So until then, take care and see ya.